Hello, everyone. This is Rick with the Cyber Pro podcast. Industry leaders share their insights. It's about 5 questions in 9 minutes because hackers never sleep. I'm excited to bring back a guest, a repeat offender. Dan is the director of IoT over at Bitdefender. No big deal there. He's killing it with what he's doing today. Dan, I'm super excited to have you back. You were episode number 135 in October of 2021. What have you been up to since the last time you were on the podcast?
Great, it's great to be back. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a minute. It felt like it was yesterday. So all the good times. But yeah, for sure. I've been just like every professional in the field, just basically doing nothing because we wiped 2 years off the map that we don't remember anything about. But no, in all seriousness, we've been at it since. And for those of you who tuned in 100 years ago to our other other podcasts, you would know our efforts into IoT research that we've been doing at Bitdefender for a while. So we keep doing that. So the part of my role with the IoT group is to oversee the vulnerability research program that we do on consumer IoT products. And we've been putting out, literally churning a bunch of reports on vulnerabilities on major products and vendors. And ultimately, of course, that's it looks good on paper for the team, of course, and we, for the journals, but at the same time, we've been actually helping the industry improve significantly. We've been, Joel, I need the end. It's been great because a lot of vendors have really improved their processes since we've been doing that, which is actually the goal. I mean, it's all academic and educational, and we're trying to help the industry. So in the end, what happens is we're actually feeding back into helping the vendors make their posture and stance better, which is great. That's exactly what we want. And then obviously this other news, I hope we have time we can go through it, but yeah, thanks for having me back.
No, this is wonderful, Dan. And I think people forget how important IoT has become in the cybersecurity landscape. And so my next question focuses on that. How has IoT security and just, evolution evolved over the past few years?
Right. Loaded question. I think I want to, the best way to, kind of illustrate what has changed over the past few years is, half the latest U.S. cyber trademark program from the U.S. administration, which is going to have certain vendors who pass good practices in terms of IoT security label their products. So they're going to draw in vendors, they're going to draw in retailers, are going to put these labels up. And basically what that shows is it's gotten to the level where the government is already supporting and acknowledging there's an issue that we need to solve. We're finally, I think, to the point where actually IoT security and actually IoT in itself is no longer the wild, wild west that it used to be, where everybody can do whatever they want. It's finally in the attention of, regulators, which, of course, regulation can be good or bad, but at the same time, I think this is a good initiative. So kind of to illustrate what's going on in the last few years, the fact that we have initiatives like this kind of shows us the attention that we're getting from the other players than just vendors themselves in the industry. So I feel like having the support of initiatives like that and having more vendors do more research to improve their posture and so on, I feel like we're slowly getting into to a point where IoT and security kind of start sounding promising instead of sounding scary. Okay,
that makes a lot of sense, and this is why I'm glad you're on, because you're going to give me a great answer for this next question. What emerging trends, technologies, or approaches are you excited about in this space?
Right. I feel like I'm gonna just bring back to the other question as well. I feel like initiatives like this, actually, it's not necessarily new technologies, because I can't say that we've seen anything that was groundbreaking in terms of technologies, but we've seen consolidation. We've seen platforms being, those better platforms and the better implementations tend to be chosen more for, a plethora of products, which makes sense. And it's actually what you want to see. And at the same time, I feel like initiatives, not necessarily technologies, is what gets me excited, because it's oversight and attention to the problem and more efforts and more bug bounties and all these other programs actually is what I'm seeing that improve on the space. And I don't know that it's exciting for everybody or that's something that, makes everybody tick. But at the same time, what we want to see in the end is we've spoke about this before in the past as well. Like, I want to see billions of devices happily doing what they're supposed to do in the network, instead of becoming attack vectors and national security threats, basically.
Right. Love it. That's great. Pivoting on that, then, could you share a real world story about IoT security and the lessons or takeaways that we can learn from it?
Right. So,
tougher questions this time around.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I love it. If they were easy and my answers roll off the tongue when we scripted this, I'd be like, yeah, here's the answer, but we didn't do any of it, so this is great. It's actually putting me on the spot, and I love it. Yeah, so I think I'm looking back at the research we've done over the past few years, and for example, this will be a general, not a particular case, but I think it speaks volumes, and I think we published some research about this as well. So the issue is that, let's say we'll have a sample of like 20 vendors that we've looked at their devices for potential vulnerabilities and so on, and which we found issues with vulnerabilities. So the biggest issue that we have is contacting these vendors. So you think the problem is fixing or, improving posture or whatever. No, not at all. The issue is reaching the person in charge at the particular vendor, with the particular vendor that can actually fix the vulnerability and patch the bugs in production. So, obviously the customers are not under threat anymore. So kind of a real case example of it is, let me just say that only about 30% of the vendors, and I'm kind of quoting on top of my head, I got to look at the numbers, but I can give you the exact percentages. Only about 30% of the vendors actually replied within the posted 90-day timeline that we usually give vendors to respond. And over 30% of the vendors took a year or more or never replied to our outreach. Okay? So, and to put that into perspective, don't imagine like we're, the ideal route, and we can yap about this as well. The ideal route, the best case scenario is vendor X, they have a page, or vendor Y, because we have a vendor X, vendor XYZ, whatever. They have a security/privacy page where you can go. There's a PGP key there. There's a somebody at the end of the line who's always, looking forward to, getting outreach contacts, so on and so forth. And you would send an email with the issue. They'll reply within a couple of days, and you start working on patching the thing and then going towards coordinated disclosure. That doesn't always happen. In fact, it happens very rarely. We have very few vendors that have a setup like that. But even worse, we try to reach people over Twitter, LinkedIn, so like other social media, email, support. We're really getting on top of these guys, trying to reach that one person that can help. And even then, we have over 30% of the vendors in that particular case where they are not reachable. Okay, so put that into more perspective. You have, let's say, a vendor that has these security cameras, and based off of market research, let's say they have 30 million active devices in the U.S. and they have a 0-day issue that could take over all of those devices and turn them into whatever have you. So what do? How do you handle that, right? So it's examples like this that actually are keeping me awake at night, or make me want to go back to work more fervently every other day, because it's finding issues with products is easy. Patching them sometimes is easier. Getting a hold of people who are in charge of that is the hardest yet that I've seen issue by far.
Love it. Dan, final and fun question for you, if you're ready. We used to ask you your favorite retro technology, but now what's your favorite current piece of technology that makes you smile?
Oh man, see, oddballs all over. Yeah, I love it. I've been actually doubling down on my favorite retro tech stuff. I'm just gonna buy myself some time here, and I said like I kept getting some of the tools that I never had, some of the PDAs that I never had, and all the other tchotchkes that I never had in the past. I scour the eBay, and then I'm just gonna wait for them to eventually die because they're never gonna find batteries for them and so on. So yeah, to be fair, I think my favorite piece of technology today is my iPad Mini. It's the most versatile, powerful tool. Then, I mean, I think only the iPhone, like my phone, kind of takes over in terms of technology. But honestly, like and why I'm saying this and why this is more relevant than boring is that I have the iPad Pro that I absolutely loved, and it was the bigger, chunkier thing. But then that broke after 2 years, which shouldn't really happen. Usually these things last for 5 or 6 years. Then I ended up buying this little thing, and it's been with me everywhere. And it's the most powerful, versatile, and cool piece of technology that I've been using. And I know it's not a spoiler of any kind. I'm not breaking any ground. But I'm actually, and there's a couple of upcoming technology that I'm looking for to see if they're going to live up to the hype. And kind of a throw a hint there. I'm not pitching them. I don't know them personally, but there's a company called Humane. And they're going to be releasing some sort of AI-based personal assistant hardware gimmick thingy by the end of the year. So I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to come up with. I just threw it out there.
That's awesome. Dan, thank you so much for being on the podcast again.
Thanks for having me, Rick. This is fantastic. I love being back. Thank you.
You made it to the end. Thanks for that. If you like what we're doing, we'd love to have you support us at the Cyber Pro Podcast. Come follow us. It helps us out and allows us to keep bringing you great guests while growing and sharing all sorts of insights with our community. You'll find the link in the description below. Short Arm Solutions, Cyber Pro Podcast.